Okay, so this is version 4 of the spreadsheet that I use to modify my ECU and TCU files, and it's available online. Basically, once the file is extracted from the vehicle, it can be opened directly within the spreadsheet, modified within the spreadsheet, and then saved back to a file ready to be checksummed and go back in your vehicle. So it stops having to use various, well, in my case, various different apps. When you first start, there will be a enable macros button at the top here. It's heavily macro driven, so you'll need to allow macros for anything to work, basically. A little disclaimer, because it works for me. I've been using it quite successfully. I don't know if it will work for you, so make sure you check before you try using any of the modified files back in your vehicle. So once you accept it, it will take you to the main page. So I'll just go, for this video, just go through all the different tabs, a brief explanation, and I'll do more detailed another time. So this is an instructions. This is from V3 instructions. It's still accurate and true, but it's getting a bit too much to try and make text-based instructions now. Map ref. This is where you set up your maps, same as you would with WinOLS or anything else like that, where you have your map, the dimensions of the map, the vertical axis, the horizontal axis, the map reference data, and the vertical axis, along with the chart by column. So that's that one. That gets extracted out into the individual map. So all the ones we've defined there, and any map you do define there, will be shown here. It's shown as the map spread out, along with a graph that comes with it. If you click on a particular value in the graph, it'll take you to that data row so you can see what you're doing. As you can see, I've made changes. If you make a change, it will go yellow. And all I did there to make this change was I copied those cells over to here, then put a formula in that then takes that cell value, multiplies it by 1.1, so a 10% increase, limits it to 85, to 85, and then applies it here. So you can use the power of Excel to modify your files in bulk. You can use any of the Excel sheet functions. The data that is here is what will get written back. So anything you've placed anywhere else doesn't matter. It's the data that's inside the table and the axes that will get written back to the file when you go to export the file. This shows the current value in solid line, and it shows a dotted value in the original line before your change. So that's all maintained there for your reference. There's a log. It basically logs everything you do. It'll also be when you make a change. So once we export this file, this will get populated with all of the changes. The previous value and the current value will all get populated here. So there's just a reference of what you've done. Advanced map setup. So basically all these maps are different sizes, heights, widths, and also input values can be changed, can be different, which can make it a little bit difficult sometimes understanding what a change does, and we'll see exactly what this simple little change here has done to other maps. So in the advanced map setup, we can use values that have come from our map in our database there, or we can actually set up calculation tags. So we can just put a calculation in here that uses other cell values, and that'll get mapped out just the same as one of the actual map, the map data, and it'll all be shown there. So you can then create your own calculations, which become really interesting when you're trying to do SOI and EOI and things like that. This is what they look like. So now you can see from the original map of all different shapes and sizes, now they're all normalized to the same size. Over here, we've got the x-axis min and max, y-axis min and max. I've currently got this 0 to 100 because I'm using the driver's wish to then define the IQ for all the other maps in this point to actually see what that looks like. And we can see now that once we've spread that out, 0 to 100% throttle, 1,000 to 4,500 RPM, and this is the table with a heat map to show it. Torque map is a one-dimensional map, so it's one-dimensional on all rows. Min fuel is a calculation map I've got there. Boost request, so this is the boost that's happening at that point in time. Now this is of the changed file, not of the original file. The boost limiter, and so basically we can see how it's all normalized to get the tables all on an even playing field, so we can see everything. This is a torque calculation. We can see where we're reaching peak torque and we're not here, so the torque limiter is actually doing something there, and power. Over here is the compare. So this now is the original files, the one that before the change that we've just made before to the map. It will come through and just shows the original value, but more importantly to the right is the change. So this is the change in driver's wish. So that simple change we made here, when blown out to being on a full table, this is what it looks like for the individual IQ values. They're all thrown into that map and calculated. Same as the RPM, they're all thrown into that map and calculated. Change in torque, there's been no change in torque map. The boost request, as a result of changing that torque, the driver's wish map, we can see how the boost request has changed relative to throttle position. So throttle position RPM now, so this isn't IQ driven, this is throttle position driven at this point in time. We can see a change in boost request. We can see how the boost limiter has changed. So this one simple change has made a difference to all these outputs. The smoke limiter, again, it's got a change in the way it's going to behave. The actual IQ, so we've actually increased the IQ in this area, which we'll now see in the torque. So this is the output of the torque. So we've increased torque in this area here. We haven't actually increased the torque output of the engine. We've just increased, at this point in time, the response of the throttle and the response of the engine to the throttle, and change in power. So that's all great, and it's all in a nice big table which can be hard to look at, especially if we're looking for specifics. So we come down here to the chart, and if we have this, the current X value, so we're currently using this as throttle position. If we bring this up to say a 50% throttle, we can see our current value. So we've got IQ on the left, RPM on the right, and we're looking at the driver's wish. The input is currently whatever the X value we've declared it to be, and like I said, it's throttle position. If we want, we can change that to be by column, and so now we can see we've got IQ, the throttle position there, but the actual value now is based on the RPM. So as we go RPM up, we're now looking at a specific RPM, but across the entire throttle position range. So we can see at 2000 RPM, this is how the profile of the IQ, because that's the output of the driver's wish, will change. Go back to column just for the sake of it. And so what we can also see is the torque limiter. Torque limiter hasn't changed, it's the same. So when looking at a 50% throttle through the full RPM range, we haven't changed that at all. The boost request, on the other hand, has changed. By doing that, the boost request has gone up, and the boost limiter is the same. Smoke limiter has changed, and this is the actual torque profile. So now we can see what our old torque was and our new torque based on a 50% throttle and the RPM, how it would have changed. So that's a quick overview of what it does. I will go into more detail on each individual page separately.